All right, let's dive into Plato's Symposium. You know, it's one of those works that everyone's heard of, but
Yeah.
how many of us have actually, sat down and really wrestled with it?
Well, that's what we're here for, right?
Exactly.
To help unpack all these
Yeah.
different philosophical...
A whole stack of academic excerpts that you've sent in.
Love.
Really focusing on the arguments about love in the Symposium, so
Yeah.
get ready. So maybe just to start off, can you set the stage a little bit?
Sure. So, picture this.
Yeah.
We're in ancient Athens, right?
Okay.
A dinner party.
Yes.
Fancy. A bunch of Athenian dudes are hanging out, having a few drinks.
Oh, no, I'm already picturing, like, togas and...
Oh, absolutely. Togas are definitely involved.
Lyres.
Lyres in the background?
Lyres, grapes, you name it. It's a real scene.
Okay.
But here's the twist. Instead of just, gossiping or telling stories, they decide to have a little philosophical competition.
Ooh.
Each one is going to give a speech praising Eros.
Eros. Okay, who's Eros? Eros is the Greek god of love.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about love in all its glory, in all its messiness,
I love
as you can imagine.
I mean, I love a good dinner party anyway.
Oh,
So.
yeah, this is my kind of party.
Yeah.
But the thing is, each speaker comes at it from a completely different angle.
Okay, so it's not just like everyone agrees love is great. They're actually...
No. That would be way too easy.
Okay, so give us a sense of how different these perspectives actually are. Like, who do we meet in this philosophical showdown?
All right. So first up, you've got Phaedrus.
Yeah.
And Phaedrus is all about the heroic, the noble side of love.
Mm.
He argues that love inspires us to do great things, to act courageously.
Okay, so what kind of examples does he use to back that up? I mean, we need some ancient Greek gossip here.
Well, his example is Achilles. Remember the whole Trojan War epic?
Oh, yeah.
Achilles' beloved Patroclus gets killed, and Achilles is just devastated.
Mm.
But Phaedrus points out, Achilles knows if he goes to avenge Patroclus, he's going to die too. The gods have told him that, but he does it anyway. Because his love for Patroclus is that powerful. And for Phaedrus, this kind of love, a love that drives you to face death, to risk everything, that's the kind of love that brings you closer to the divine.
Mm. So love is like this path to heroism and immortality.
Exactly.
Intense. Okay, so we've got heroic love. Who comes next?
Next up is Pausanias. And he pumps the brakes a little bit. He's like, hold on. Not all love is created equal.
Okay, so
We got to make a distinction here.
is he going to be the party pooper?
Well, maybe a little bit.
Okay.
He distinguishes between what he calls heavenly love, which is focused on virtue in the soul, and then there's common love, which is more about, well, the physical stuff.
Yeah.
Pleasure and all that.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense that the ancient Greeks
Right.
could have this
We're all about.
virtuous ideal,
Yeah.
right? So what kind of evidence does he use to support his arguments?
He actually points to Athenian custom. Apparently, it was totally acceptable, even expected, for lovers to basically act like servants to their beloved, like doing favors, giving gifts, the whole 9 yards. But here's the catch. It was only cool if it ultimately led to a virtuous outcome, like if it helped the beloved become a better person.
Oh, so there were rules.
Rules. There are always rules.
Even for love. Interesting.
Right. You can't just do whatever you want in the name of love. You got to have some virtue attached to it.
All right, okay, so we've got heroic love, we've got virtuous love. Where do we go from there?
Well, things get even more interesting when Eryximachus, the doctor, just steps up to the plate.
The doctor. Okay, so is he going to talk about like the chemistry of love or
Well, he does touch on that.
or like the biological basis of
He
attraction?
takes it in a much bigger direction. He says, look, love isn't just about human relationships.
Okay.
It's a fundamental force in the universe.
Whoa, okay.
Like, it's what brings harmony and order to everything.
That's a big leap.
It is.
From like, kissing to the cosmos.
From, individual passion
Yeah.
to like the music of the spheres.
Okay, that is fascinating.
Isn't it?
So he sees love as this like cosmic unifying force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He talks about how love is at work in music, in medicine, even in the balance of the seasons. It's everywhere.
Okay, so we've got heroic love, virtuous love, cosmic love. I'm starting to see how this dinner party is getting pretty heated.
Oh, yeah, this is just the warm-up act.
Wait, there's more.
Oh, there's so much more.
Oh my gosh.
Because next up,
Okay.
we have Aristophanes,
And
and he's going to drop a bomb.
okay, I am ready. Bring on the Aristophanes bomb.
All right, so you know that myth about how humans were originally split in two?
Oh yeah, the whole like searching for your other half thing.
That's the one.
Okay.
That comes from Aristophanes' speech in the Symposium.
Oh wow. I didn't realize that
is
was...
his big contribution to
Wow.
this whole conversation.
Hmm.
He basically says, look, each of us is walking around incomplete. We're longing for that other half of ourselves.
And love
It's
is...
love is that search. It's that drive to find them, to merge with them and become whole again.
I mean, that is just wow. So he's saying love is this like primal need for wholeness and connection.
Exactly. It's
Ah.
like this deep, almost cosmic longing that's baked into our very being.
It's like he's tapping into something really fundamental about the human experience. Okay, so we've got heroic love, we've got virtuous love, cosmic love, and now this like primordial yearning for completion. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, but in a good way. But I have a feeling this isn't even the main event.
Right.
We've got Socrates waiting in the wings.
Of course. We can't forget about Socrates.
He's got to come in and...
This wouldn't be a Platonic dialogue without Socrates shaking things up a bit, right?
Right, so where does he take this conversation about love? What does Socrates have to say about all this?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Huh.
And that's a story for part 2.
Oh, you can't leave us hanging like that. All right, well, listeners, you're going to have to wait for part 2 to hear what Socrates has to say about love. Trust me, it's worth the wait. Until then, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Okay, so last time we left off with this crazy dinner party where everyone's giving speeches about Eros, the god of love, and we've heard all these wild perspectives from heroic love to cosmic love to like searching for your other half, but now it's Socrates' turn, right? He's got to come in and like drop some serious philosophical truth bombs.
Oh, absolutely. Socrates doesn't disappoint. He starts by saying, you know what? I don't actually think love is a god.
What? Wait, hold on. So all these other guys have been praising Eros as this powerful god, and Socrates just comes in and says, nope, wrong.
Pretty much. But of course, he doesn't just leave it at that. He goes on to explain that love is something even more interesting, something he calls a great spirit.
A great spirit. Okay, I am intrigued. What does that even mean?
Well, it's kind of tricky, but he's basically saying that love isn't a god exactly, but it's also not just a human emotion. It's something in between, something that connects the mortal and immortal realms.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So love is like this powerful force that transcends our everyday experience.
Exactly. And Socrates learned all this from a wise woman named Diotima. She's like his mentor in all things love.
Okay, so what else did Diotima teach Socrates about this great spirit of love?
Well, she explains that love is always desiring, always yearning. It's born of what she calls resource and poverty.
Resource and poverty. Okay, that sounds like a weird combination.
Right. But think of it this way. Resource represents abundance, like beauty and goodness, while poverty represents the lack of those things. And love is caught in between, always seeking what it doesn't have.
So love is like this constant striving for something more, something better.
Exactly. And this is where Socrates introduces his famous ladder of love.
The ladder of love. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. What is this ladder all about?
Well, imagine climbing a ladder. Each rung takes you higher and higher, right? Socrates says the same thing happens with love. We start at a basic level and then ascend towards something much greater.
Okay, I like where this is going. So what's the first rung on this ladder? Where does it all begin?
It all starts with appreciating physical beauty.
Mm-hmm.
That initial attraction, that spark you feel when you see someone you find beautiful.
Okay, so like just thinking someone is hot. That's the first step.
Basically. But Socrates says that's just the beginning. We shouldn't get stuck there. We need to climb higher.
So it's not enough to just admire a pretty face. There's got to be more to it than that.
Exactly. The next step is recognizing beauty in actions, in character, in the way someone lives their life. Think about it. You probably admire people who are kind, or courageous, or honest.
Mm.
Those qualities have a beauty to them too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, totally. It's like we're expanding our definition of beauty to include inner qualities, not just outward appearances.
Right. And as we climb higher on the ladder, we start to appreciate beauty in knowledge, in ideas, in all sorts of things that aren't just physical.
But then Socrates takes it even further, right? He talks about appreciating beauty in beauty itself.
And this is where it gets really mind-bending.
Yeah.
Because for Socrates, beauty itself isn't something you can see or touch. It's an abstract concept, an ideal form that exists beyond the physical world.
Okay, whoa. Now I'm really lost. How can something be beautiful if you can't even see it?
Think of it this way. You see a bunch of beautiful flowers, all different colors and shapes, but what makes them all beautiful? Socrates would say there's a common essence, a form of beauty that they all share. It's like a blueprint for beauty that exists in the realm of ideas.
So it's like we're training ourselves to look beyond the physical beauty of individual things and understand this deeper, more universal concept of beauty.
Exactly. And for Socrates, this isn't just some intellectual exercise. He believes that contemplating beauty itself leads us to true happiness, to a more fulfilling life.
But isn't there a risk of becoming so obsessed with these abstract ideas that you kind of lose touch with the real world? I mean, it sounds a little elitist, like you have to be some kind of philosopher to really get it.
That's a great point, and that's where the character of Alcibiades comes in. Remember, he kind of crashes the party and gives this very human, almost gossipy portrayal of Socrates.
Oh, yeah. I love that part. It was like a breath of fresh air after all the serious philosophy. But you're saying it's actually more significant than that.
Absolutely. Alcibiades, with all his flaws and excesses, reminds us that even the greatest philosophers are still human. They have relationships, they make mistakes, they experience life in all its messiness. It's like Plato is showing us that even as we strive for these higher ideals, we shouldn't lose sight of our humanity.
And there's that dramatic irony, too, right? Like, Alcibiades praises Socrates for his self-control, but we, the audience, know that Socrates will eventually be condemned by Athenian society. It's kind of tragic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it adds another layer to the symposium, suggesting that even those who pursue wisdom and virtue aren't immune to the injustices of the world. It raises questions about the nature of true beauty and goodness, and whether they can be truly recognized in one's lifetime.
Wow, okay. So we've got this multi-layered exploration of love, from the physical to the philosophical, from the personal to the cosmic, with a dose of humor and a touch of tragedy. It's a lot to unpack. But there's one thing I'm still wondering about. What about those of us who aren't searching for our other half? Does Plato have anything to say to us?
Yeah, so we've been talking about like this whole idea of finding your soulmate, right? That Aristophanes thing, searching for your other half. But what about those of us who aren't really looking for that? Like, what if you're perfectly happy on your own? Does Plato think we're like missing out on something, true love or whatever?
That's a really interesting question, and it's something that the symposium doesn't explicitly address. There's not like a section on what if you're happy single, but
But if we think about what Socrates was saying about personal growth and striving for beauty itself,
yeah.
maybe Plato would say that true love isn't necessarily about finding another person at all.
Okay, so it's more about finding like wholeness within yourself, like through knowledge and virtue and all that.
Exactly. And that was kind of a radical idea back then, right?
Right.
I mean, in ancient Greece, everything was about family and getting married and having kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So Plato's suggesting that maybe there's another path to fulfillment, even if you don't follow those traditional expectations.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what makes a symposium so relevant even today, right?
You're totally.
Because it takes the pressure off finding the one and puts the focus back on becoming the best version of yourself, connecting with beauty and all its forms.
I love that. It's like it opens up a whole new way of thinking about love. But even after all this, I feel like we've only scratched the surface of the symposium. There's just so much there.
Absolutely. It's one of those works that you can keep coming back to and you'll always find something new.
Right. So maybe let's try to tie this all together for our listeners. What are some key takeaways you'd want them to walk away with?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they appreciate just how complex and multifaceted love actually is. I mean, the symposium isn't like a rule book or anything. It's an exploration, right? It shows us how love can drive us towards both virtue and vice, how it fuels our desires and even inspires us to create.
Yeah, and how it can take us on this crazy journey of self-discovery, starting with just admiring beautiful bodies and ending up contemplating the a eternal form of beauty. That's a wild ride.
It really is. And within that journey, there's something for everyone, whether you're looking for a soulmate or just trying to live a more fulfilling life. The symposium has something to offer. But honestly, I think the most important thing is to be left with questions.
Oh, yeah. Questions are good. They keep us curious, keep us learning.
Exactly.
So hit us with one final thought-provoking question for our listeners, something to really get them thinking.
Okay, here's one. Is Socrates' ideal of beauty itself, actually attainable? Can we really find lasting happiness just through, abstract contemplation like he suggests? Or is there something fundamentally human about love that requires connection with other people, with the world around us?
Ooh, that's a good one. It makes you think about whether this whole ladder of love is something we're meant to climb alone, or if maybe we need each other to make that ascent.
I love that. Maybe that's the real message of the symposium, right? That the pursuit of beauty, knowledge, the good life, it's something we do better together.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Plato's Symposium. We'll catch you next time for another adventure in ideas. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.